The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's going on? Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 115 of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Paul, and today I have brought back someone that you might recognise. He is the lead flusher in the Soiled Western Cinema podcast, currently on hiatus, but hopefully back very, very soon. And, a relatively good friend at this point is On a Night. How you doing, sir?
Good, sir. Glad to be back.
Yes, glad to have you. And today we're going to be talking about Polar, the Netflix original film, but very quick, get the regular stuff out of the way. If you want to get a hold of us about anything that's been said, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Blokebusters. You can check out our website, blokebusters.com. You can email us at theblokes@blokebusters.com. You can also go to podbros.com and check out our stuff as well as many other fine people on there. And if you want to help us kind of keep the lights on, keep it going, pay the server cost just a little bit, even $1 a month as our Patreon would be very, very, very much appreciated. And that is patreon.com/blokebusterspodcast. So, with all that out of the way, I say we dive straight in. So, Polar. This film, I heard about it on Netflix when it came out, because Netflix did the thing that it did, which is, hey, here's one of our original content. Why don't we have an ad every time you open up Netflix at this point? So I knew absolutely nothing about this before they released it. And then they released it, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, yeah, you know what? That could be good. Could be terrible, but it could be good. So I was trying to think, it seemed like something that would be good for us to review, and then I was like, who could I possibly get to come on and talk about a film like this? And, you were pretty much the first person that popped into my head for this one.
Yep, first and only.
Hey, I didn't say it.
I didn't even know this film existed. This is one of those ones Paul says, hey, watch this and we're going to review it. So I watched it completely out of context. I didn't see the trailer. I have no knowledge of it. Well, so first of all, there's two things. Number one, I had to miss the Leaving Neverland documentary for this shit. And I would rather be watching Michael Jackson have sleepovers than poor Mads Mikkelsen killing a lot of people. Okay. Number two, it's not about fucking polar bears. And so I'm going to take issue there. So I think we had, those are my two main bullet points.
All right.
We can move forward.
I was saying, this will be a very quick review, apparently.
we can elaborate, but those are my two sticking points. Michael Jackson is not in this, so we have to throw the first one right out the window. There's no polar bears either, so I guess we're shot. That's it, folks. Hope you.
I hope you enjoyed that really short.
Yeah. No Michael Jackson, no polar bears. But there's a lot of other stuff like excessive nudity and violence. Jesus, Paul. You're the last person on earth that I thought would recommend this kind of film for me to watch. Usually I'm the asshole that comes forward and say, hey, we're going to flush this one. It is. I've seen some violent stuff in my time, but this was brutal, and I mean brutal. There's a lot of, we can get into it, but it's excessive, guys.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest and say at the time I said, hey, I think we should review this, I had not sat down to watch it.
Because when I started 5 minutes in, I'm like, he must not have seen this film before we started reviewing this. This is not a Paul Hawkins pick by any means. I don't even know who this audience is for. Like who? Well, I guess we should back up. It is based on a graphic novel, so we should address that right off the bat. It's a comic book movie again.
It's based off of a graphic novel, but it's also available online on his website to read for free. And it is almost entirely without dialogue.
Oh, Jesus, really?
Yeah,
all right, that explains some of the movie, then. But a lot of it, there's a lot of chatty, well, some of it.
Yeah.
Did you look at the comic at all? I did not, obviously. I have no context.
I looked at, like, the first chapter.
Right, same thing.
Of it after I saw it. And, yeah, the first chapter of the webcomic or the comic, however we want to call it, is possibly, I would say, the most memorable scene from the film. So, but it's
which one was that? There's a couple of. I think there's a couple standout scenes in this film.
I would say when the team is trying to get him in his cabin.
Oh, that's actually probably the highlight of the movie. We'll get into that. We can cover that a little later. But that was probably the one point that I can say that's awesome.
So yeah, the film is based on that, and it does pull from that, but it does have a fair number of differences. Obviously, there is dialogue in this film because I doubt even Netflix would have called for a film of this nature with no dialogue in it.
But I wish they had tried. I wish it was a little less. I mean, the problem is it's a little too comic booky, and that's some of the issue I have with it. I think maybe if they went in that direction where it was a little bit more muted, and shorter. We'll talk about length of the film. It is about 10 to 15 minutes, a little too long. I think you could have easily done this in 96 minutes rather than drag it out. Some of it just really dies. I mean, that midsection really dies, but we can talk about it.
Yeah, may as well get into the nuts and bolts of the film as well. So this was directed by, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but I assume it's along the lines of Jonas Ackerlund.
That's close enough.
And for people that don't recognize the name, other than how terrible I said it, he is a director. However, he is primarily known for directing music videos. That explains a good chunk of the movie. Yeah, he was a drummer in a Swedish black metal band.
Oh, Christ Almighty!
For a year, he's directed a whole bunch of music videos, including The Prodigy's "Smack My Bitch Up."
Oh, all right. Well, now he gets a couple bonus points for that one. That makes a great wedding song, folks. I actually know someone that was their wedding song. For the first dance. Yeah. So, all right. Props for that. We give him credit for. All right. So he's basically a music director, and some of it this shows the style definitely. Some of it's a little over edited. So we get that.
Right. Yeah. And if you go and look at the things that he is known for, directing and stuff like that, then yeah, it's quite a lot of music videos for many different bands, and then a few documentaries and a couple of films here and there. So obviously, Polar being the most recent one. So yeah, it's interesting. You don't see that happen too much, where it'll be like even for Netflix, like to pull someone who isn't really known for this sort of thing to do a 2-hour long feature film.
Yeah, it's long. But Michael Bay got a whole career out of this. He was a music video director too. So I mean, this guy's a little bit better than Michael Bay. I mean, just in terms of coherent, just holding shots a little longer. But but yeah, there's a bunch of these guys that have kind of ported over from music videos. I guess I take issue with the style of the whole film. If it was a little bit more muted and not as comic booky as they want to be, I think it would be more effective, because there's a lot of over editing, especially in those flashback scenes. Which after about the third time we had to watch the same footage of somebody getting shot in the head, I was starting to get a migraine. And believe me, there's a lot of that in this film.
Yeah, and yes, quite a lot. Anyway, the cast of this film, very interesting.
Well, wait, back up, because this film should have been called, Paul. It should have been called, "Is That Who I Think It Is?" Because about 7 times in this movie, actors show up that have no business being in this movie at all, and I had to look at them and go, "Is that who I think it is?" And every one, I was right. I guess we won't spoil some of them. You have to just go through a chronological. But yeah, go through the main cast. So it's Mads Mikkelsen, and if you idiots don't know that, that's the guy who's the father of Jen Erso in fucking Rogue One. That's all we got to say about him. He plays the same character you've seen in every other aging hitman story ever filmed. We'll talk more about him, but that's who that is. Vanessa Hudgens, I'm not familiar with. She's the sing-along shit, right? High School Musical?
Yes.
Is that her?
Yes, I believe she was.
Or just think Natalie Portman from Leon. And that's who that character is.
Yeah,
kind of, sort of, right? Right? Yeah. Well, by the end, I don't want to give it away. And then Catherine Winnick, God, if we're not sick of Catherine Winnick, we flushed her ass in some horrible horror film she was in years ago. But for you Viking fans, it's LaGuardia or Lethargia or whatever the fuck her name is. She turns up here. And then we'll get into the other. There's most of them are cameos. Anything after these top three, right? Or just based,
with the exception of what I thought was the most random casting for this sort of a film I have ever seen.
Yeah, what was your pick? Because I got a couple, but go ahead.
Well, Matt Lucas.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows anything about Matt Lucas's body of work will be utterly shocked that I just said he was in this.
I had no, yeah.
Because, this is so far out from anything I've ever seen him do that it was a complete shock to me when I first saw him on screen. And then by the end of the film, I was just kind of enjoying watching what he was trying to do.
Oh my God! He's basically playing an Austin Powers villain. I mean, that's really what he comes across, and he doesn't get much above that. Unfortunately, there's no real.
Yes.
It's not a character there. It's just a typical stock, villain that we've seen in or Zoolander. Could be a Zoolander villain, but he's off the charts. I have to say they do get some mileage out of him. Maybe a little too much, but all right, yeah. So, all right, that was your shocking.
Yeah, that was for me just in terms of juxtaposition,
right,
of what you would expect. Yeah, that was the
he's
most
your heavy
one.
He's your heavy in this one. And I don't even know what he does to be. I don't think I got that what he was the head of. It's not a supervillain organization. I think he was the guy who's supposed to. Well, I'm talking about
he owns the company that's
supposed to pay
employs the assassins.
So basically now we're in John Wick territory. Okay, see, folks, you can just add in your own, you can sprinkle in your own assassin movie, and it'll fit right in with a lot of this stuff. You've seen all of this before, folks. You've seen all, with the exception of one sequence we'll talk about in that cabin. All of it you pretty much have seen from John Wick on down.
Yeah,
not that it's a bad thing necessarily. This is cobbled together from a lot of other stuff. And like I said, very little of it is original in terms of either the writing or the visuals, with the exception of some clever sequences like the cabin thing we're going to talk about. And the end sequence, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah. I will say it's probably a good thing that you didn't see the trailer because there is...
Oh, I wouldn't have done this. I would have just been not doing it. So it's a good thing.
It doesn't quite look like it does in the film.
Oh, really?
You just watch the trailer. But they do give away... I'll just say, before we get into it, they do give away the big gun scene.
Oh, see, I wish they had, good. Oh, it's a good thing I didn't see the trailer. I would have been pissed, because that's a really good sequence. That was nicely shot, I thought.
Yeah.
When you get to it. Okay. So they do give... Yeah, poor Mads Mikkelsen. This guy. And he's a solid actor, but he's we'll talk about it. He's just your stock aging assassin. He wants to retire. What's the crux of the plot here? He wants to retire, and he just wants his pension, right? And they don't want to give it to him.
Basic premise is that this company that he works for, when you reach the age of 50, you are forced into retirement, and the way that the retirement scheme works is whatever you paid in, the company matches, and they'll give it to you upon the day of your retirement. But the guy who owns the company has sort of put it into debt and is trying to sell it off.
Oh, okay.
But his solution is to kill off the assassin before they turn 50.
Which is the dumbest idea ever.
Yeah,
right.
Because in the contract, if nobody puts a next of kin, the money goes straight back to the company.
Yeah, but you're trying to kill off your best assassin with other lesser assassins, and that's a big problem, guys, folks. Yeah. I don't want to spoil anything, but you pretty much know what's going to happen. This doesn't go over well with Mad's character, who plays... I thought his name was Polar. I wish that was the name of his character, but no, his name is some other weird... Duncan, right? Is it Duncan?
Yeah, Duncan
Vizsla. Yeah, he's known as the Kaiser, whatever that means. But yeah,
everyone has a code name.
So I don't know where the Polar comes in. Maybe because it took place in Montana. I don't know.
I don't know. It's the webcomic is called Polar Came from the Cold.
Which is a terrible name. And also, this we should mention it was co-written by the guy who wrote the comic, which is not usually the best idea if you're trying to get a separate vision of it. So Jason Rothwell is the other screenwriter on this film, and Victor Santos, he wrote the graphic novel. A Dark Horse, folks, if you want to read. And like you said, it's online. I guess maybe we should put a link in your show notes.
If you go to his website, I will say, anyone that's looking to do this, and I would recommend at least checking it out, seeing if it's for you. If you enjoy the visuals of Sin City, then you'll very much like the comics because it looks a lot like that.
Yeah. Well, it's also not for kids. We should mention it.
Oh, no.
It's TVMA. This is an excessively violent film, even for me, and I can tolerate a lot. Yes, this is not for kids, folks. Don't let your 12-year-old watch it.
No, it's it is a little bit difficult to navigate because the way it works is you have to find the first page, and then it feels like you work backwards.
Oh, really?
Rather than forward, yeah, because the button to go to the next page is on the left-hand side.
Oh, come on, really?
So, yeah, it's not a perfectly put together website, but I feel like it's just a website to have the thing online.
Right.
And so, that's kind of his advertising, his stuff, and then you can, from there, buy the novel itself if you want to get that. So, if you don't want to have to go all the way through that, you can do it.
Oh my God, yeah. I wish he shot the movie like that, just backwards. Like the openings in the middle. Probably would have made more sense.
I'd say, kind of do Polar Memento.
Yeah. Which might have been more interesting if you sort of like mix some of this around, but okay.
That's it. Yeah,
all right, so that's the crux of the plot, folks. So that's how it starts out. It starts out.
Yeah, he is 2 weeks from retirement. Yeah, that old school. 1 day from retirement now. But yeah, he is 2 weeks from retirement, and he's asked to go on a job to kill someone, which he doesn't want to take until he is offered double the money to do it.
Well, don't forget the opening, though. We open with those other killers in Chile. And if you want to give away, is that who I think it is? Cameo number 1.
Yep, Mr. Johnny Knoxville
himself.
The
fucking jackass guy turns up at the head of this film, literally in the first minute. And I'm like, I was hoping we were going to watch a Jackass movie. Unfortunately, it doesn't go well. And some hot chick. There's always some smoking hot chick. It's just one of the killers, I believe.
Yes, she's one of the group.
So it's there's like a bunch of bad killers, guys, and there's like 4 or 5 of them, and they're all weird fucking looking. This is something you'd see out of, just another one, he's over-stylized, like a John Wick film. They all have, like, characters, and they have weird outfits and that kind of shit. So they end up killing Knoxville. I guess he was a target for... He was another, right? Wasn't he another assassin, right? That retired.
He was... That's to say, I'm not 100% sure. I feel like the idea is that he was supposed to be just about to retire, but he was already at his house, like, in the middle of nowhere. Right. So it's like... It feels like he would already have been retired, which means that the money wouldn't have gone back to the company.
Right, and there's a Viagra joke in that scene, which is funny as a Viagra joke could be, I guess.
I bet you Knoxville himself asked for that.
He probably did. Yeah, he did. The guy does die at full mast. Let's just say that. So he gets killed, and that's. But again, this is all over stylized stuff that you've seen. Lots of close-ups and insert shots and snap zooms and a lot of blood. And I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of blood in this film. It is CGI and real. It's gruesome. The movie is flat out gruesome.
I will say that when it comes down to the amount of blood in it, like it is quite obviously over the top.
Yes.
With regard to that, and I actually kind of enjoyed that aspect to it.
If they leaned into it, I thought it'd be better. They didn't really. I mean, it's presented as it's there, but it's not. There's no humor to it. Like it's just a lot, especially there's a hallway sequence much later in the movie, where Mickelson just goes on and on and on, and after a while you do start laughing because you kind of get it, but then I don't know. I don't know if there's enough winking to say to throw it over the top.
Well, in scenes like that, I feel like they were trying to go more gritty, like the hallway scene. But in some scenes, for instance, I would say the large gentleman in the last place that they're trying to look for him,
Oh, the fat guy.
That takes probably, I think, 6 clips overall from the different guns that are trained on the guy.
Yeah, that guy gets they're good.
Yeah, like, that was the point for me. That was them basically telling you, like, we know.
Right.
Like, yeah, this is a lot. We know, but we're doing it anyway.
So they're hunting down people who are going to retire or about to retire, and of course, and then we're introduced to that fat guy, Matt Lucas, who's our villain, who's our Bond villain for this time out. An assortment of yellow suits, red suits, very colorful guy. And if you're familiar with Matt Lucas, this will be a shock for you. So.
Yeah, very much so. Yes.
And Catherine Winnick, we should mention, she's the number one person. She's the number one to. She's the Robert Wagner character to the Matt Lucas character in this film. Winnick doesn't get to do anything fun at all. I never thought she was that great of an actress, but she doesn't get naked at all. Sorry, folks. And she just says the same thing every time. Speak, right? Every time she answers the fucking phone. Speak. Like, we get it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, she's...
Oh, she did lick a girl's butt, though, right? Isn't there a strip club scene later on?
I believe that's right, yeah.
So that's kind of cool. So if you're into that, I guess that's your one. That's the best I can give you, folks. Sorry. But otherwise, she's pretty straight in this. She doesn't really have much to do.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I feel like her character is kind of pointless.
Well, you need somebody to talk to. She's the direct contact to Mads Mikkelsen's character. You need somebody to do that, but I guess it could have been anybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it was just, this guy isn't going to listen to the owner of the company, so we need someone that he's clearly got history with. But
is she an assassin too? Because if she is, she doesn't do anything in the movie to warrant that. Like, I thought she'd be going up against, Mads at the end of the film, and she doesn't. That does not happen.
No, I feel like she's effectively just head of HR.
How do you hire the Viking from Viking and give her nothing to do in this film? Like, that lady just chopped heads off, right, for 4 seasons. I don't understand why you hired this woman and not utilize her talents. For whether it's being a Viking. She does have to do stunts. She can do stunts. Give her something to do. I know you could have got anybody to do that. You could have got any bimbo to do that part.
Right. It could have been like with Matt Lucas being in it. It could be they were trying to do with a lot of the role, just subvert what you think is going to happen. So, like, you get the person who has been in Viking to do nothing. You get the person who had been in Little Britain to be this swearing, torturing person. Like, it's,
Matt Lucas is like Ben Stiller in a fat suit. That's what it came. Ben Stiller was doing one of his fat suit characters. That's Matt Lucas in this movie. That's basically what he's doing. It's just an SNL sketch for 2 hours. Not a bad one, but it's really off the charts for. Kudos to Matt for doing it. I mean, it literally could have got anybody overacting that, but he does go 100. He is 100%. I don't know if it's in the right direction, but he definitely is 100% in this movie.
Yeah, I would actually say not just Ben Stiller in the suit, like Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the better one. All right, we'll give Paul with the win on that one. Yes, absolutely. That's what you're kind of getting, but that's the problem, I think, tonally with the film. You have that outrageous character, and then you have some really nice, quiet moments, either between Mads and Hutchins, which is a much different movie. And it just never balances the two. So I didn't know which way the film wanted to go. Is it supposed to be more a Leon meditation, or is it supposed to be this big cartoonish John Wick type style over the topness? I don't think it really doesn't blend well. But
well, I say I got the feeling from watching it that's kind of the whole point, is that obviously whenever you see Mikkelsen with Hutchins, it's him trying to he's out, he's retiring, he's just waiting for the money so that he can just leave and get on with his life, whereas everything else is this life of his isn't going to leave him behind. So it's just this constant clashing of the two worlds. But I can totally see what you're saying in that it really
there's some tonal shifts here. Yeah. All right, so Mick, in the meantime, Mads goes to he has a cabin in the middle of the woods in Montana. Now, I will cite Paul, that the cinematography is excellent. That's the one thing I will say about this film. I don't know who the DP on this was. I didn't bother to scroll down far enough on my IMDb, but it's stunning. There's some really stunning, beautiful images, especially Montana, if it was actually filmed there. But mountain backdrops and snow and this nice cabin, and across from the other cabin, across the lake, there's another cabin, and that's where Vanessa Hudgens' character is. And we don't know who she is yet. It turns out, there's kind of a Leon type vibe here. But anyway, and also, why did they stick Vanessa Hudgens in a Dutch boy wig? Her hair looks terrible. She looks like a 9-year-old orphan boy. I mean, come on, man. Isn't a beautiful woman, and they've really dialed her back. That hair, I don't know if it's a wig or if she actually cut her hair that short, but it just looks terrible.
Well, not having read too far into the comic, I can only assume that one was actually fairly close to the comic, because, as you say, it is a bit of an odd choice.
Yeah, but this is the problem, Paul. We've circled this. We've been around the train on this before, where not everything that's in comic form translates successfully to the moving image. Like, you can't. Everything's not really adaptable. Some things just look better in a stylized 2D flat image on a page. And for instance, her hair may look great, but you see it on screen here, and somebody, I don't know if it was the wedding, the costume designer, whoever the wig person was, it looks like a wig, and it was so distracting. She has these bangs and a wig. I'm telling you, little Dutch boy. It's just absolutely terrible wig. But anyway, aside from that, unfortunately, she doesn't have much to do for much of the movie until the very end. So she's sidelined a lot, and that's too bad, because I thought some of their scenes together were actually quite nice.
It was very interesting to watch and then think back on afterwards, because it's quite clear that there's something going on with her, but I didn't feel like they telegraphed it too much. No, they didn't actually. That was actually kind of a surprise. But the problem is it's kind of a cheat, because you only get so much of that flashback from him. So by the time, then it reveals at the end. So it's kind of just one of these flashback cheats, folks, and we know how much we love those. I personally feel that it obviously wouldn't have made sense in as far as and of course we're just spoilers across the whole board here. We've already done it a few times, but he's paying money every single month or even year. I'm still not 100% sure exactly how it worked out, but he's paying money to pay for the surviving member of the family's education.
Right.
But I feel like the way it should have worked is that he pulls open the thing and he sees everyone dead, but then he finds out after the fact that one was actually still alive. I feel like that would have been sort of more for him, just staring into this one kid and just realizing what happened. But I think finding out afterwards would have been even more of a shock for his character. So
yeah. Spoilers, folks. We should have mentioned that. We really should have mentioned that 20 minutes ago. Poor Mickelson, though. He keeps walking around with this expression on his face like he's trying to pass a kidney stone. Doesn't he? Guys, he's so miserable. He just doesn't. He looks so uncomfortable in every scene he's in. And I know that's the character, and he's supposed to be brooding. I actually like this guy, but he just never. He's like the Chuck Norris face, the constipated expression. And that's it. And when he's sitting, there's no joy. There's one funny joke, and they didn't run with it far enough. Was how when he killed the dog accidentally, and he goes to get the new pet. That should have kept going. Like, he should have killed the fish, and it should have been a cat. You could have had a great running joke with that. It just accidentally keeps killing his companions in the cabin. But so, folks, there's a dead dog joke, which I thought was actually pretty funny. But
that's it. Well, and yes, before we get hate mail for that, it's
no, there is. It's not hate mail.
No, but that's it. It sounds terrible, but it actually is very well.
It's actually really funny.
done.
Yeah. Dog's not killed on screen, so it's not a big deal, folks.
Yeah, and it was also, I was almost wondering if it was a nod to John Wick.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, again, some of this is this is a lot of hodgepodge from other stuff, and a lot of that could have been John Wick. I thought that when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a funny John Wick. But then it became a fish, and I just wish it kept going. He could have had a cat, then a bird, but it would have been a great runner. It would have been a really, really funny runner they could have done.
Yeah, I was expecting the fish to be dead when he finally came back to the cabin.
Either that or he knocked over the bowl, I thought would have been interesting, and the next scene he would have a cat. I thought logically he would go cat and then bird.
he comes back and the fish are alive and he's really happy about it, but then he just knocks the bowl.
Yeah, he just accidentally, and then he's like, shit. And what is it? He kept changing books. Like, first was how to care for your new dog, and then it was how to care for your new fish. You could have kept going with that, guy. See, it was a waste. That's a wasted. That would have pushed it a little bit, the material a little bit into more funnier, because that has to balance out the excessive violence, and I mean excessive. I keep circling back to that, folks, but it is a grisly, between the nudity, including several sex scenes, one of which is a real corker in the cabin. Whew. You know, if you want to see Mads Mikkelsen's ass, this is the movie for you. If that's what you've been waiting for, folks, I think we can check that box for you.
Yeah, I think that's why Netflix made the film. They're like, we've been getting so many letters. We want to see Matt.
We need some Mads Mikkelsen nudity. And kudos to that woman for doing that scene too. I don't know what her name is, but man, she went 100. She was 100% in that scene. But that's a little further down.
Cindy, it's Ruby O'Fee.
Ah, Ruby. I have to look up your modeling photos, honey. So he's hiding out the cabin. He meets. There's another girl across the cabin away. He helps her chop wood and that kind of shit. And there's kind of some interesting. And he's going through the town. Meanwhile, the four gang of assassins are going around on orders from the Austin Powers villain to hunt down this guy and kill him. So basically, they have to find him and they have to go to the accountant and they kill him. But everywhere they go, they end up killing the person they're interrogating violently. And I mean violently.
Yes, because their remit is leaving no witnesses behind.
Wow, Jesus, and they don't.
Yeah.
But I wish those people were funnier. I think there was some potential, like that guy with the red-haired guy. I thought he was kind of interesting. And then there's that Asian chick, which you've seen in every other movie. She's the main killer, I guess. And then there's the hot chick we were talking about here. I think there could have been more like interesting, Tarantino style dialogue between the four of them to liven it up. I think. Not all the stuff plays well. It's very Tarantino-ish in that kind of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what could have been more well done would be if you had Mads' character speak like half as much as he does in the film, but then you have these guys who apparently can't shut up.
No, they can't. Also, when Matt speaks, you can barely understand him. You really got to pay attention. Some of his dialogue, he mumbles a lot of it, and that gets distracting after a while.
Yeah, I had the subtitles on.
Oh, did you? Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I should have done that.
At this point in my life, I realized that for the most part, I need the subtitles for a film because there's always a line that you miss because either something goes on and you're not paying that much attention, or they're speaking quietly while there's loud music, and I with my partial hearing loss, I need the subtitles at this point. So I find that it typically helps, especially in a film like this.
Yeah, well, which is loud. It's a very loud movie too when it explodes in violence. And there's a lot but those four people, or the 4 or 5 of them, they can't shut the fuck up. So every scene they're in, they're running their mouth and they're arguing and bickering. And there's a heroin junkie at one point, some chick, and she's in there.
Yeah, she's the girlfriend of the ginger haired guy. Yeah, apparently, maybe. I think that's what I put.
Guess together. I don't know if that was what happened in that bathroom, but that was a little weird. They're basically having a hunt, and eventually they'll end up finding Mr. Mikkelsen at his cabin, and this I guess we should come to this scene.
Yeah, although just before that, the scene where Mads goes to the school.
Oh no! That you know what? That's a standout scene, Paul. You're right. No. That's one of the best scenes in the movie because first of all, it would never happen. Okay, so if we can
want
forgive
to see
that,
the permission slip for that.
Yeah, exactly. Class. He decides to teach an assassin's demonstration, and for these kids are what 5th grade, 4th grade? They were really young, but that's a very funny scene. He's like, anyone want to see a dead body after 3 days or something like that?
I think it was 3 weeks. 3 weeks in the sun.
And the kids are like, no, we haven't. He goes, here you go. Have at it. And that's a great scene. I don't know how it looks like it was added. It didn't look like organic to the rest of the narrative, but never, because it just sort of happens. It's like he's there, and I'm like, well, why is he here? And then he's outside talking to her.
Yeah, and it's kind of a direct, again, juxtapositions to a scene that he'd had before. when she's saying that, you should teach kids, and he's just like, no, I don't know how to talk to kids, and then
he actually does know how to talk. It was actually a very funny practical demonstration. So yeah, that's a very good scene. Again, it would never happen. You have to suspend disbelief. That teacher would have shut him down immediately. But
especially when he was like, okay, here, pass the knife around. It's like, no.
So yeah, I will cite that out. That's a very good scene. Again, if there was more funny stuff like that, I think it'd be a little bit warmer of a movie. But it's it goes from that to just bloodshed.
Yeah, which I think we've earned the right to get into now. So yes, that the cabin scene. It starts out with him picking up someone on the side of the road, and we know at this point that the person he's picking up is
it's a hot chick
from the beginning of the film.
No, but shouldn't we say that he's like really a terrible assassin? No, there's no assassin that would do that. Like he would not put himself at risk by having not only picking her up but taking her back to his cabin. Like it's kind of weird that is it in character for him to do that? I mean, I know he screwed that chick earlier in the movie, that Asian chick. We didn't mention that whole fight. He goes to kill that guy. We should mention in a hotel room, and that's gruesome. He nails him to the wall. Remember the fat guy?
Oh yes.
That really sets the tone.
Nails him to the wall.
Yeah, but anyway, he was screwing some really real hot chick with a kid. So is that in character for him to take? I don't know if he would have done that. I think his radar would have been up that something was not right.
Well, that's the thing. I think that from the moment he stopped to pick her up, that he knew something.
Oh, so you think right. he knew something? They were coming to get him. Okay, all right. That's... Yeah. So let me tell you, folks. When he's get the offer to do her, he does her. This puts the term graphic sex scene in real context, doesn't it? It's graphic, and it goes on for a while, guys. He really does her just about every way from Sunday. And kudos, like I said, to the woman who's 100% in that scene. But, whew.
Yeah, and it's also interesting to think of, so clearly this team's setup is that this woman goes and has sex with the Mark.
Right.
And they then kill the Mark right at the end,
right? But
it's
with a sniper rifle, and then there's two people that are approaching the cabin. So there's one guy way off of this with a sniper rifle, and then there's two or three that are coming up to the cabin. Yeah.
But just think, how annoyed must the rest of the team be at this point? Let's say this is their 10th mission. That's 10 times they had to listen to her go for half an hour before they could
I don't understand why they would have waited for him. Yeah, that goes for a long time, folks. Longer than it probably should have, even for a movie stand. I'm like, we get it. After the first couple times, but then there's 3 or 4 or 5 sequences there. So I'm like, well, where's the payoff on this? I was actually I'd lost track of time, just watching these guys screw. But once the attack happens, let me tell you, this guy has to do the rest of the scene nude, and it's kind of an amazing sequence of how he gets out of that situation and ends up killing these four people, I think, at the time. Not the fifth one's gone out there. Yep. Just absolutely stunning. This is a good example of good editing and good stunt work, I think, on the part of the actors and the filmmaker. It's a really well shot sequence. In fact, if you just want to fast forward to that, I wish I had the time stamp on it, but it's a great example because he has to go inside and kill those, and he has to go outside, and he's nude for a good chunk of it.
Yeah. It's like I said before, I think it's probably the best scene in the film, just from the pacing of it is really well done. The way he dispatches the people is really well done too.
It's excellent.
Yeah, it's just a really cool scene, and as you said, a good example of editing done right.
Yeah, I just wish it was in a better movie, but yes, this really is. I guess everything and you run into that problem where your whole movie's built around one scene. They knew this scene, I guess, was in the comic, so they knew they were going to have to adapt this scene. It's a standout scene, but it's everything surrounding that kind of gets away. And again, length is an issue too. Like I said, this film it takes too long to even get to this scene. But when it does, you're not going to be disappointed, folks. If you're into this type of material, it's really a stellar sequence to watch.
Yeah?
Yeah, even with a nude Mad Mikkelsen running around. But when he kills her with the axe, I thought that was probably one of the best kills of that. He takes care of her ass real quick.
Yep. And then Yeah, the next one, let's say, like, he's nude and he goes outside. And, like, you have to think how far away this sniper is, and he walks around to get...
Yeah, that was, it totally nude. Also, I want to back up for a second. We were talking about funny sequences. How about that one where all the killers went to that one house and the guy tried to jump out the window? And he just bounced on it. I wish there was more funny stuff like that. He ends up getting killed later on, but like that, again, if you're pushing the material, but then you go from that to a sequence like this, which is dead serious and extremely well executed. So it's hard to know where the line falls on this film. That's the problem with it. I just wish it was just tonally more consistent. Because every time I wanted to get on board with it, I'm thrown out of the movie by some other wackiness. Like something else will just stop the film cold, or there'll be some other comic scene that doesn't fit with the previous scene. And I'm like, man, like just pick a tone here.
And it does feel like they wanted to keep the grittiness of the comic, which they definitely do with some of the scenes.
Yes, they do.
But then outside of that, they weren't able to fully understand that, okay, you can have the humor now, but you don't have to go that far. Or
right. Like in there was a clever scene in that scene we were talking about the kids, where the kids are asking normal questions about his travels, and his only frame of reference for the countries he's been in is the people he killed and how he killed them. And I thought that was clever. That was a nice juxtaposition of the two. Again, but that's one thing, and then you're thrown into some other wackiness, and then you're thrown into something else. So stuff starts getting lost, the longer it goes on.
Yeah.
But this scene's a good one, guys. This one is the one, really to highlight the film, and the end scene. We'll get to it. It's coming up, but.
I will say as well, I didn't notice it too much at the beginning of the film, but the music in this is quite good, and especially right at the end of the film, it seemed to really kick in really well, and it's all by Deadmau5.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes, the music. I like the music. I also like when they weren't using music. There's a couple sequences that don't have any music. Especially a hallway sequence we're going to get to near the end there. Just him killing people, and I thought that was effective too. So
the sound editing in this film is really good.
So he knows these people are after. He knows that he has to kill this ultimate guy, and he kills all these fucking clowns, and so he has to go get help from somebody, an old assassin. And here you go. Here's is that who I think it is? Number 2, fucking Richard Dreyfuss.
Yep.
Like, we're talking Jaws Richard Dreyfuss, folks. We're talking that Richard Dreyfuss. Mm-hmm. First of all, I barely recognized him. He looks terrible. I don't know if it was intentional or he's just at the end of his life. He's bloated. He looks absolutely terrible. In fact, I had to do a double take. I'm like, because he started singing. I'm like, that guy looks like Richard Dreyfuss. I'm like, oh God, that's actually Richard Dreyfuss. So folks, it's depressing. If you can't handle that, just skip over that scene and he has one scene that anybody could have done. They could have brought in a day player to do that scene. They didn't need Richard Dreyfuss, Academy Award winning, right? Academy Award winner Richard Dreyfuss, I believe. Yeah, but here, I don't know how he got into this movie. I think he just wandered in from craft services. I think he was just on a break and he just poked his head in the studio and he was like, hey, you got karaoke.
And it does seem like there must have been a family connection somewhere.
There has to be. There's no reason for him to be in this movie. He has nothing to do. He has one scene of just exposition, and he tricks Mads, and they end up catching him because he's able to drug him. But anybody could have done this, dude. Like, you didn't need Richard Dreyfuss to do that. It's weird. Isn't it weird? It's just weird. That was the last person I thought would be in this movie, literally. Johnny Knoxville, yes. I could get my head around that. Richard Dreyfuss, no.
Yeah, it is a very odd pick, and again, like you said, it took me a long time for it to click. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, I honestly didn't recognize him. Like, he kind of looks like Richard Dreyfuss. I'm like, oh no. And so he's not in good shape, folks. I don't know what his health status is, but it's not pretty. Anyway, he does his 2 minutes, and he's out, and they capture the Bond villain captures Mads. And, of course, now we got to have the Lethal Weapon torture scene. And if you haven't seen Lethal Weapon, folks, you can just go rent that. And it's bloody and violent, and goes on for a couple days, I believe, which he would have bled out a long way before that happened. But
yeah, it's like he has 4 days until his contract is up, and so
right.
It's, you see 3 days of the torture, and I will say that kind of an excellent use of Chekhov's smoking gun.
Yes, good use of music. We'll give that.
Yeah,
also, we should say he kidnapped Vanessa Hudgens and turned her into a heroin junkie. So he does have her in his possession. That's why he's there to get her back.
Just like I said, because they have a scene at the beginning where Mads is going for his health checkup and all of this sort of stuff, and he just does mention, like, you know, never too late just to get rid of that shrapnel, and that Mads is just like, oh, don't worry about it, and then that comes into play in the torture scene where it causes the scalpel to break. Now, I thought that was well done and a good callback. However, the fact that he then uses the broken scalpel blade to pick a lock.
Well, you know what? I'm going to slide with that. The issue I had is how he had any energy at all to get up and kill everybody after it. And let me tell you, from that point when he gets up to the end of that sequence, he must have killed like 30 people. It's a lot. And I mean, there's no way this guy would have had any energy to do it. First of all, they stabbed his eye. He would have bled out from that. Yeah. He lost an eye. He does lose his left eye. And he had a lot of wounds. But anyway, yeah, this is another example where technically it's well done. There's good editing. The stunt work is fantastic. The hits are brutal. And not for this first opening sequence, but then later on in that hallway, he has to go down some tunnel. It's really a tunnel, folks, not a hallway, like Daredevil. And he has to kill a lot of guys in that tunnel. and it's real. And that's where the music actually drops off, and you're just watching him just go through the sequence. And it's pretty stunning, I have to say, even for one of these type of movies.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to bring up Daredevil. Yeah, imagine if Daredevil killed people, and that's like, this like is what you would have seen in that show.
He had some really good kills in that. But yeah, it's a long, long sequence. But he does get out of this situation and gets patched up by some black chick who was not introduced anywhere before. Just another character they got to try. I don't even know who the woman is. She was fine, active.
Yeah,
I need to cite out her color. She's an African-American actress. She was fine for what she had to do. But again, this is another character we don't know. Like, he finds a safe house, and, like, within a day, he's back up. Look, this guy there's no way this guy would be functional, even to do this end sequence. I mean, he was in bad shape.
Yeah.
You have to, there's only so far you can suspend disbelief before you got to start questioning stuff.
Yeah, it really is just, like, it's not even really plot armor, because he quite clearly doesn't have that, based on how badly he's beaten up. But it's just he's effectively got the stamina of a Saiyan, because he's beaten up, he's cut, and all of this, and then within about 5 hours of sleeping it off, he's pretty much fine.
And I bumped my shin a couple weeks ago, and I thought I was done for the night. So I can't imagine doing what this. There's no way I'd be able to do what this guy would have been through and still get up and walk around. He lost an eye, for Christ's sakes. Yeah. It's crazy. So anyways, he gets patched up, and this woman that he used to know, I guess he used to be a former lover, whatever he was, she has access. She has, conveniently, a lot of Fast and Furious weapons, like a shitload of guns, like automated guns, right, with these fun gloves. Now, the glove thing is cool. We're getting to that sequence, but he has to get loaded up with some things to have a final standoff.
Yeah. Although, I will say that it did make it seem like we would end up in almost Matrix style in the shootout scene, where it just be here's a gun, and he only uses the one thing.
The two of them, yeah. There's two of them, I think.
Well, okay, yes. So.
Yeah,
there's like I say one. He uses two of one thing.
Well, that's because we got to get to the end of the movie. It's been going on for so long. They don't have time to do another full blown shootout, especially after that hallway sequence. So anyway, yeah, he wants an exchange. He'll exchange his life for the Vanessa Hudgens character's life. And they set up a meeting place. And, of course, the bad guys think they got to jump on him because they find him. They track his cell phone, which, everybody does now. Anyway, he's waiting for them in this warehouse. And this is the second best sequence, I thought. How he takes out, 20, 30 guys. There's quite a few of them.
Oh, yeah.
And Catherine Winnick, we should say. Yeah. I don't know if he killed her, though. That was left...
I don't think he killed her. I don't think he did. So she would definitely need medical attention. So I think it's up to you to decide whether or not she bled out there or not.
But he has these really cool gloves that activate the guns that are behind him, above him, and he just flexes his fingers and wipes out all these guys in one shot. And it's pretty effective. I thought that was a pretty good sequence.
Yeah.
If you've seen the trailer, though, it's been ruined for you. So don't watch the trailer if you want to check that out.
It was something that I saw in the trailer, and they obviously don't show you the whole scene.
No.
But they show you him with the gloves, and they show you guns firing. So it's like, okay, this is somewhere in it. So it was somewhat spoiled, but the actual aftermath was not shown. But
very clever, though. Very clever sequence.
The thing that, again, like trying to bring logic into a film like this, but the thing that I had an issue with was the fact that Catherine Winnick's character didn't even consider the possibility that he knew that they were tracing him.
Well, she wasn't. Like I told you, her character was there. I mean, I didn't understand. Like, she's supposed to be the number one. I thought she was the number one. Like next to him, she was the number 2 assassin or whatever. And so I never understood why she wasn't onto us. She didn't figure that out. But then they walk right into it. She walked right up to him too, which is really dumb. Like, she does a lot of dumb stuff.
Yeah, she spends the entire film telling the leader of the organization not to underestimate him, and then she underestimates him.
Yeah. Yeah, grossly underestimates him. So she wipes out all that. Now he's got to go after the final villain, which is, of course, the Bond villain. I thought pretty good death scene.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty clever how they shot, how that ended up. He gets it good. He gets it real good.
Oh, he does. And I really enjoyed the way that the guards were just like, fuck it, I'm
That
done.
was a great, that's another thing I really liked that. And he just let him go. Like, he's like, they were no more threat. They scoot by him. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, and the first guards, when he walks through the door, and they just go, he's upstairs, first door on the left.
So Mr. Matt Lucas dies a horrific death. Pretty clever, I thought. I guess that was from the comic too, I'm sure. It looks like a little comic panel scenes. They have a lot of that in this movie, these little stylized shots. And that's one. So he does get it really good.
Yeah.
Victim of his own weapons, I guess.
And then the poor receptionist.
Yeah. Clean up that mess.
Yeah, and I did just like this kind of like, the Mr. Blute just at the headless body just spurting
Oh, it's
out.
great, yeah, just blood pouring everywhere. Oh, man.
It's like, yes, that is Mr. Blute, or at least it was.
So he gets the girl, he rescues the girl, and takes her back to the cabin and weans her off the heroin, just all in 10 seconds. And then, of course, we get the big reveal here. As it turns out, the girl that he was interested, this girl turns out to be the girl. Now, did he know this was the girl or not? That was in the hit gone bad. He had a hit that went bad, and there was a 9-year-old girl who was left alive, and this turns out to be a girl, and that's why he's been paying out this money. Did he know that this was the girl or not?
He did not. Based on everything we're given from the film, he did not.
Okay.
Because she even asked him, like, were you not curious? Did you not look me up? And he said that he didn't want to interfere.
Okay.
And
yeah, all right. Okay. Yeah, I can see. All right, I got it. Yeah, I thought again Vanessa Hudgens. I don't know if she's. I know I was distracted by the stupid wig, but aside from that, I don't know if she was miscast or not. I thought maybe there's another actress who would have been a little bit stronger. She has to do some serious. Unfortunately, her big emotional stuff is right here at the end of the movie, which sucks. So just when the movie is getting going, it ends. And I wish this was pushed forward a little bit and there was a little bit more from her. Because like I said, you don't know why she's like, jumpy and gets freaked out with guns and shit like that until this scene. And she's doing some, like, she's 100%. I'll give her credit. But I don't know if she was the best choice for this role. I think there may have been an actor who would have came across a little bit more convincingly. I don't know. But there's a lot of glycerin tears in her face, which I didn't really buy. And you can always tell the difference through lighting, but I don't know. I didn't quite buy it. I like the end shot, though, which is basically the Leon the Professional shot at the very end, because now they're going to team up, and it looks like there's a whole series of movies, right? That's the other problem. The movie doesn't really end. It stops.
I don't know if they're going to make any more.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's set up to make more. I don't know if they will, but that ends as clearly that they're going to team up and go after some other people. Because remember, that's what she asked him. She wanted to know about the guy who set the hit for my father.
Yeah, and
so that's who she was. He didn't know, but that's the last shot of the movie. It's the Leon the Professional shot where they're just kind of staring at the camera for no reason, waiting for somebody to say cut. I hate that shot. And then the movie just ends. It just pulls back, and you're like, what? So the movie's just getting going. So it is set up for a sequel. Now, whether that's going to happen, we don't know.
Yeah, and I could see Netflix doing one more.
Okay.
I don't think they will, but I could see them doing it just because, obviously the critical reaction to this film has been relatively negative.
Oh, good. All right. Well,
it's been. Let's see. Rotten Tomatoes. It's currently at about 24%.
Yeah, basically everything I just said. Yeah, I know. I don't have to read the reviews on that one. They said all the same things we did, right? Just derivative stuff that we've seen with a few stylized sequences that we really liked.
Metacritic at 19 out of 100. So
Jesus!
Not doing brilliantly.
Damn. Well, that's the end of that. But it is set up though, because like I said, she asked about the father. Plus, Catherine Winnick, we assume, is alive, so she would come into play in a sequel too. So there's more there that they could do.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got Netflix clearly will put money behind films that do quite badly or like get the press, because I mean, Adam Sandler. But
I thought we weren't going to mention him anymore, but
I wouldn't have. But they gave him.
That's a great example.
They gave him the money for the films he did.
I know.
The Magnificent, or the whatever the hell that bloody one.
Well, this is the problem with I know, but this is the problem with Netflix, because even if they're negative, they're still getting views. So Netflix is basing their success of the film on the number of views, not if it's good or bad, and that's how they push forward with these sequels. You understand? That's why Adam Sandler keeps getting money. Not that his films are good, it's people are watching it and realizing they're shit. And they could watch 5 minutes, and does that count as a view? See, Netflix is not telling us how the algorithm is working over there, so we don't know. We're just going, but apparently, you know, they keep throwing money at it, so they think it's a success, even though these films fucking suck.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's the thing. I think that I think they're very well aware of this sort of stuff, and I do think that I'm all for them not saying how they work out their.
No, I'd like to know. I'd rather know, man.
Yeah, I'd like to know, but I am still perfectly fine with them not giving it out, as long as they still keep doing most of what they're doing.
All right, this is the same network that did Green Book, okay? Probably the most racist film of the year. So I don't know. These guys aren't really too high on my list. We've been bashing Netflix for a while now.
Well, I mean, very true, but they do still have some solid hits, like especially in TV. So you got Black Mirror, you got a series of unfortunate events and stuff like that.
They have stuff that is working for them. Yeah, I can't completely, but man, oh man. But this one, yeah. Well, hopefully there won't be a sequel, but don't be surprised, folks, if they Polar Opposite, it should be called.
You know,
Bipolar, it should be the sequel. Because that's what I felt bipolar watching it, and that's the tonal problem, like I mentioned. Again, you know, if you're into this kind of shit, and you can, you know, you're like a John Wick director, you're bored on a Friday, and you want something John Wicky or Leon the Professional, then maybe this is your cup of tea.
Well, that's what I was actually going to say. Like, I know that it's it's not the best example of what's out there, but there are some stellar scenes in it, and some great choices. Cinematography, as we said earlier,
that's excellent. That's really
fantastic. So I actually quite enjoyed just sitting down and watching this.
This would have been a super fun. If it was just 90 minutes, it would have been great. I think there's a great 90-minute film here. I don't think there's a great 118-minute. I think it's just too long. It's just too long. There's scenes that go on and on and on and on. You're like, you could cut these scenes in half. And, you know, and a couple of those ones that they were looking for him, they could have cut 2 of those out. We didn't need to see him kill, like, 12 people.
Well, you know. not even necessarily that. Like, what they could have done, especially given the feel that they seem to be going for, it could have been, you saw the first one, and you see that in the entirety, and then everyone after that, like, it just cuts to them killing the person who's at the location.
So you could have condensed probably 8 minutes of screen time down to 2 with that, or maybe 3. Yeah, you're right, Paul. You're right. That's a very simple edit. That's a very simple edit choice, and that would have cut some of the bloat out. I feel. I think you're right on that, Paul. I think you're right on the re-edit on that.
And I mean, hell, if it was legal, I would give it a go myself.
Well, you can do your own fan edit and call it a fan edit. But yeah, if you got the time, Paul, go ahead, cut that shit down. That could be your new thing. I'll watch that. I'll watch your version of it because Yeah, just take out the bloat. All you do is take out some of the bloat. I think you would have a funner movie. Because I think that like some of the when the humor works, it works, and when the serious stuff works, it works. It's just tonally, they're just not working together. Yeah. So it just needs to be blended a little better. So like I said, there's good stuff here, I thought, but I just wish it wasn't buried with everything else.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. I don't fully agree with some of the critical stuff. I feel like, funnily enough, I feel like the critics are a bit too critical of this film. But yeah, I can definitely see why a lot of people could be put off by this one. It is very stylized, and
well, it's also a lot of people are going to some people are going to be really put off by the violence. There's an excessive amount of violence and nudity. I mean, if there's some if you're prudish, and then this is not your cup of tea, guys. This is not the film for you. Even this is not your John Wick type film, because that's more restrained even than this.
Yeah,
and John Wick is excessive.
It's kind of interesting as well, because looking at this film. In America, I guarantee you that if it were to be released on DVD, it would receive the R rating for the nudity. In England, it would receive the R rating for the violence.
And there was a lot of nudity, guys, a lot. But that's So like I said, if you're bored on a Friday night, have at it. But otherwise, I just say go watch. Just wait for John Wick 3, which is coming out another couple months, April, maybe next month. Just wait for John Wick 3.
Yeah, I need to see the second one soon.
Yeah, and that's dynamite. So just if this is the type of genre, folks, you like, just hang in there another month, and John Wick will take care of you.
All right. I don't think I've got much more left to say on this.
That's it. We said it. Yeah, just watch John Wick. I don't know what to tell you. Unless you want to see a lot of graphic nudity, some violence, and a really good standout sequence in the middle with the abandoned cabin, or the cabin sequence, for technical reasons. Yeah, check it out. So, otherwise, no, don't watch it.
Yeah, and with that public service.
It's a film we would have flushed this, by the way. If we were to, good thing we did it on Paul's show, because I would have been a lot meaner on my show if we had flushed this one. I would have been in a real bad mood. So Paul caught me on a good night.
Yeah. Well, I need to keep you.
Yes.
I need to keep you up to date with all of these sorts of films before you come back. So.
That's true. This is a good warm-up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do enjoy this part. Yeah, it's a good warm-up for me getting back into the game. We are coming back, folks, so just hang in there. We need to, because we're the only ones left. Everybody else, this country's gone totally PC, and you can't make jokes anymore, so we got to come back and show them that you can, violently. So.
All right. Well, I think with all that being said, we can probably leave it there. So... As I said at the beginning, if you want to get a hold of us here, Blockbusters, where all of that sort of stuff is. Where can people get a hold of you?
SignalsOfFury.com. We still got our old episodes. All the episodes are still up, folks. We're still there. Check them out. Signals of Fury. At Signals of Fury on Twitter. And Instagram is HKnight69 if you want to check me out on Twitter. But, tweet at us. Let us know you want us back. We're coming back.
All right. Well, I'm very much looking forward to that. With all that being said, then, I've been Paul.
And I've been Honor Knight.
I'll see you next time. Bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.